All right, pre-nursing chemistry students, I wanted to make a little video to help you with your metric prefixes with the conversions using this table 1.6, which you can find in the important tables for chapter 1 or just looking in your book. Okay, so before we actually do an example for the conversions, remember there are 4 base units. 4 base units that we went over. Now, there's a lot of M's in chemistry, so I'm going to spell out meter here, but that is abbreviated with a little m. There are other things abbreviated with little m's, as you will see. And then the liter, the gram, and the second. Those 4 base units, now there will be a few more that we'll learn throughout the semester, but those are the ones that we're going to start with. Those are like your home base. Always go back to the home base. Now you have this table that gives a lot of information on it. But all you really need to do is be like, okay, where's the base unit on here? And then you look at this component that I'm circling, this superscript, which is a shorthand for the scientific notation for whatever that superscript is. So if it says like 1 times, or if it says 10 to the third, that means 1 times 10 to the third. Now the base unit is going to be 10 to the 0, which is going to be right in here. 10 to the 0 equals 1, okay? So, what you're going to do, I'm going to scroll down a little bit. What you're going to do is we either are going to go from a base unit in conversions using these metric prefixes from a base unit to a bigger or smaller number, smaller unit, okay? So an example would be like liter to something bigger would be kiloliter, something smaller would be milliliter. Okay, or another option, or in chemistry, we will go from the like prefix unit, I'm going to call it that, to a base unit. So that would be, say, micrograms. That's got a prefix. The micro, you can actually see here, I'm circling it. There's the micro symbol. Don't confuse your milli and your micro, okay? Make your micro super cursive looking or something. In your milli, a normal M, which looks similar to the meter M. And then the base unit there would be the gram, okay? So this top example here, you're looking at volume. This lower example, you're looking at mass. But we're going to go all over between liter to kiloliter or kiloliter back to liter. You will need to be able to go in either direction. Okay, so let's do an example, and before I actually do that, I'm going to scroll back up. Let's do an example with milli, okay? So just so we can be clear, let me erase some of this. So we can be clear, milli, you have to memorize, is 1 times 10 to the negative 3 from this table. Okay, so let's do an example. So the example is, I'm given 5.6 grams of a substance, and what I'm trying to find, my question mark, is what is that in milligrams, okay? So you memorize milli, or M, like I said, there's a lot of M's in here, is 10 to the negative 3. So how does that actually work in a conversion? So we take our 5.6 grams, okay, and we're going to set up something that looks like a fraction. Now this entire fraction thing is a conversion factor. Okay? Just start with the units. I think you guys pull out your calculator and you're like, what do I do? What do I multiply? What do I divide? No. Just start with the units. Grams has to cancel. So this gram will cancel with this gram. So grams has to be in the bottom. We want milligrams. That's going to be on the top of the conversion factor. Okay? The component that you memorize, this ugly number, always, always, always goes with the base unit. 1 times 10 to the negative 3. You've memorized as milli. That's an ugly number. It goes with the base unit. The only base unit here is the gram. And a 1 goes with the milligram. So into your calculator, you would actually punch in, if you wanted to, 5.6 times 1, and then divided by 1 times 10 to the negative 3, which is going to give you 5,600 milligrams, or if you want to put it in scientific notation, 5.6 times 10 to the third milligrams, which makes sense since milli is a smaller quantity, there would be more of them in a smaller amount of grams, the 5.6 grams. Okay, let's do another example. So here's another example. I give you 38 microliters, and the question mark, the unknown, is how many liters is that? Okay, so you go back to your table, or you've memorized that micro, that swoopy symbol, is this ugly 1 times 10 to the negative 6. Don't immediately start punching into your calculator. Set it up with the units. 38 microliters. Conversion factor. Microliters is on the bottom, liters is on the top. Which one of those is the base unit? The liter. So that ugly goes with the base unit. And a 1 goes with the microliters. So that gives you 3.8 times 10 to the negative 5 liters when you actually punch it into your calculator. I do recommend you always use parentheses around any scientific notation in your calculator. Otherwise, in some cases, when you think you're dividing, you're going to be multiplying. You also really need to get used to where the scientific notation buttons are on your calculator. And if you need help with that, you're going to have to use your specific calculator, or come to office hours, or I can help you with that, because sometimes there's a button that's got an E on it. Sometimes you actually have a button on your calculator that looks like this, like that, or something, or maybe instead of an N, it's an X up here. Sometimes it's 2 E's. Those buttons all allow you to do scientific notation easily. You can also program your calculator to give all your answers in scientific notation without any decimals, any commas, nothing, just scientific notation for all of your answers. Okay? Now, I will say, looking at the same example, you may have done this in high school chemistry, and you said, I don't like negative superscripts. You can solve the same exact problem if you did this in high school, and it's okay with you, and you don't get your math wrong, just like this. You know that there are 1 times 10 to the 6th micro, whatever they are, micrograms, microliters, microseconds, okay, in one of the base unit. That'll give you the exact same answer. You need to know what works with your brain and what you want to memorize, okay, what you would like to memorize. So for any conversion, just one last thing here, for conversions, this is with the metric prefixes, or if you're doing centimeters to inches, this is 4. Okay, or pounds to kilograms, anything. For conversions, always write your knowns / givens, okay? Those might be, it might take a second to write down milli is 10 to the negative 3. It might take a second to write out how many centimeters are in an inch, but always write them out. Always write out what you're trying to find / question mark. I always just say question mark because that's easier. If you're on an exam, you got scratch paper, question mark equals grams of something, something, something. Okay, that's really fast to do. This may seem like it takes a long time to do, but if you come up with a plan that says, okay, I'm going microliters to liters, and therefore I'm going to need some kind of conversion in between there, then the plan will help you set up your conversions correctly. Okay, once it is set up, then figure out what's multiplied and what's divided based on the way the conversion factor looks in terms of the fractions, okay? Thank you for listening, and good luck with your conversions in your Chapter 1 homework.